Hey my friend, my name is Sergey and welcome to the Vegan Breakthrough Podcast, where our mission is to inspire, promote and celebrate animal rights and healthy veganism. This is episode number 1 and thank you so much for joining me today. Today's guest, Chris, a co-founder of The Vegan Zombie, which is a vegan cooking show on YouTube, and it has started back in 2009. Am I correct, Chris?
Well, I started the YouTube channel in 2009, but our first cooking episode was posted in 2010.
So you've been vegan since 1994, correct?
That's correct.
People often complain that it is so hard to go vegan. So can you tell them, was it harder for you back then in 1994 than it is to be vegan right now, like nowadays?
Well, I would say I never really saw it as being hard, but seeing what they have today, all the products that they have today, the support groups, YouTube, you could Google anything you want. We couldn't do that back then. So yeah, in that respect, it's a lot easier today to go vegan. It's more accessible and it's more mainstream. Back then, nobody knew what vegan was. I couldn't get on the internet and Google a recipe or find out what I needed to be healthy, that kind of thing. Most doctors didn't know what it was. So it was kind of just like a leap of faith.
Right. And what in your life turned you to a vegan lifestyle?
Well, before I was vegan, I was a vegetarian. So I like to say I started this lifestyle when I was only 14, and that was 27 years ago. So when I was 14, I was really into martial arts movies, all that kind of thing. And a family friend, well, one of my good friends that lives across the street from where my parents lived, a family friend of his was really into the martial art ninjutsu. And he decided one day he would come into town and start training us. So for me, that was a really exciting thing at that time, being 14 years old and start training this new martial art. And this guy was really into the whole lifestyle of ninjutsu. So he was a very minimalist person. He only had a few things like some books and stuff like that. And he trained like the ancient, Buddhists and ninjas did back then. And it sounds funny, but so that was what interested in me. And one day before we went to do our training, we met at my friend's house. Me and 2 other friends started doing this, and we met at his house. And our trainer came over and he said, "I'm going to introduce you to the way that the ancient ninjas used to eat." Okay. So he said back then, well, the traditional lifestyle was predominantly vegetarian, predominantly vegan, actually. Some of them would eat fish or whatever. So he brought 3 things over for us to try. And I never heard of the first 2. So he had just a block of tofu, uncooked, unseasoned, just a block of wet tofu, and a dish of tabbouleh, which I've never heard of at the time, and some green tea. And in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, well, if this is what they would eat, then I want to eat this way. So I tried it all. And me and another friend, we went vegetarian that day. I was 14 at the time. I went vegetarian. And at that time, obviously I didn't have a job. My parents didn't support me. So I had to learn essentially how to cook on my own. I had always been an animal lover. I just didn't make the connection that it wasn't accessible to us then. We couldn't Google things or watch things on Facebook or videos about how the dairy industry impacted the animals. And as far as I knew, unless it wasn't meat, then we weren't killing the animals. I didn't know any better. But I had always been an animal lover. I used to, save animals off the road, all kinds of things when I was little. So as time went on, I started learning more and more about the vegetarian lifestyle, and I wouldn't eat anything that I thought killed an animal. So for instance, I worked at a pizza place and there was rennet in the cheese. Now, if you don't know what rennet is the lining of a goat's stomach. Not all cheese has it in it, but some do. And I wouldn't eat any cheese that had rennet in it. As time went on, I learned more and more, and I just came to the realization one day in 1994, like you said, that the dairy and the meat were pretty much the same. And I no longer considered it food. And I stopped eating dairy at that day too. So when I was 14, I went vegetarian. When I was 18, I went vegan. And We got to remember back then there was no internet how it is. There was nothing like that. I didn't know if the biggest thing people said, you're not going to get protein, you're going to get sick. But I didn't take supplements or anything. I never really, to this day, have really taken supplements or vitamins or anything like that. So, but here I am, and I'm healthy as can be. I'm in my early 40s. People don't usually know how old I am by looking at me. People don't usually guess my age. But yeah, I've been vegan since the early 90s.
You said you were interested in martial arts back then, but what about now?
To certain aspects of the lifestyle, I do practice every day in certain things, and certain things I don't. In 2009, early 2009, I was training, and I hurt my back really bad. And before that, I was doing jujitsu. I was training jujitsu. And then I kind of had to stop that. I moved away. I hurt my back, and it didn't go away. So I did an entire video on that. But to make a long story short, I ended up reluctantly getting a back surgery for that. And in hindsight, it was the best thing that I could have done because it made my pain go away. So I haven't really practiced training or anything like that, but other aspects of how the ninjutsu, how they would live their life, I do on pretty much a daily basis. It's pretty much implemented in my lifestyle now, I would say. A little more backstory. So I never really had to exercise too much as when I was younger because I was an avid skateboarder. So I guess that was my exercise. I skated all day, every day, summer, winter, fall, all throughout the year. And I do live in a place where the seasons do change and it gets really cold where I am. I never had to really go to a gym or anything like that because I stayed active that way. I would still call myself a skateboarder for life, but I don't do it as often. I really haven't done it in a while now, but I can still go out there and do all the same things. Let's back it up to about 5 years ago. This time of year, I started exercising every day. And I would say that I'm in the best shape of my life. I was never really a runner either. And I am on a vegan running team called the Strong Hearts Vegan Power Running Team. I've done several videos on that. It's an amazing 200-mile relay. So I'm part of that team. I still haven't done I've been the driver on the team. I know that sounds funny, but I've been the driver on that team. But that's inspired me because I'd always been short of breath as I was younger, and I could never really run. I could run fast, but not endurance wise. I couldn't run really more than a mile, to be honest, without feeling like I was going to die. But ever since then, I can run now, and I ran 4 miles, 5 miles, 6 miles. And then again, I'm in my 40s. So I am in the best shape of my life in my 40s. I feel great physically, mentally. I can say, I can't go back and prove it and do it differently, but I can say my lifestyle, my vegan lifestyle has a great deal to do with it. I also abstain from, for those of you that know the term, I am a straight edge. So I abstain from any alcohol or drugs or cigarettes or anything like that. Some people think that sounds weird or bizarre, but I've never tasted alcohol, and I never had a problem with it. I mean, obviously I can't miss it because I never tried it, but I'm not curious. I never wanted to lose my state of mind, I guess was the biggest factor there. But yeah, I don't have any desire to try alcohol.
So many people think that it is much easier to be vegan in big cities like New York, LA, Chicago, Houston, Toronto.
Sure. Obviously in bigger cities, there's going to be more available, especially as far as going out to eat. That is true. But you got to remember, I never thought it was hard to go vegan. Okay. So when I went vegan, again, there was no vegan restaurants. We didn't have food that was labeled with a certified V. We had to go read all the ingredients for everything. And if we weren't sure on something, we would call the company and question what these ingredients were and stuff like that. Yeah, I guess you could say it was harder back then, but I never saw it that way because once I committed to the fact that meat and dairy were no longer food, I had to figure out what else I can make. And that was the beginning of me learning how to cook. I worked at several different restaurants, and And, you know, back then as a kid working at these restaurants, you know, the one thing that went through my mind was like, okay, so I'm learning this recipe. How can I make this vegan? And that's exactly what I did on, you know, some of our very first cooking episodes on my YouTube channel are recipes that I veganized that, you know, from working at other restaurants back in the day. Yeah, today I would say that some of the bigger cities definitely have more of an option for, you know, eating out as a vegan, whereas some of these smaller cities, like for instance, Syracuse, we have one vegan restaurant here. It's been here for about 9 years now. And I'm really good friends with the owner. I've done videos there, but we also have several vegan friendly places. But then, like, for instance, if I go to Los Angeles, everywhere you go, you're going to find a vegan restaurant, which is awesome. You can go out to places, you know, small places in the Midwest and stuff. I actually grew up about 20 minutes outside of Syracuse in a small little town, like really small town. And, you know, it's got cornfields and woods and farms everywhere. And there is no vegan restaurant here. There's one grocery store. And actually, that's where I am right now doing this interview. I'm kind of visiting my parents right now. So, yeah, and I made it work. So knowing that, you know, you can do it, I would say you could do it anywhere. And I'm even up for the challenge. I have some ideas where I want to do that, you know, go to some of these remote locations that, you know, farm country, that kind of thing, and just show people how to do it, how to eat and what to do. Maybe you don't have a vegan restaurant, but you definitely can go buy things, farmers markets, grocery stores, and make delicious vegan food. As far as I'm concerned, no matter where you are.
My next question is about your YouTube show, The Vegan Zombie. If we take a look at your recipes, how to make pizza, cheese sticks recipe, pizza roll recipe, vegan mac and cheese recipe, easy chocolate cake recipe. I actually saw one of the comments under one of your videos that says, guys, that's very entertaining and fun, but it's not a healthy food. So the Vegan Zombie is basically the vegan fast food recipes. And I'm sure you saw these comments. What do you respond to these comments?
Well, when I was inspired to start the show, like, let's back up here. I ended up coming up with the concept because, like a lot of people, I hated my job. I didn't want to do that the rest of my life. And I wasn't inspired for, you know, waking up and doing what I was doing. So I simply just started thinking, like, what do I love? You know, and I love making movies. I always have. I love the horror genre, and I've just been vegan for so long. That's just part of my life. That was the no-brainer. So I came up with the concept of the Vegan Zombie, where the zombies carried, you know, the virus through the meat and the dairy. So basically, if you ate the meat and the dairy, you would become a zombie. And the main character that was fighting them off was a vegan. So I wanted to get better at movie making skills and stuff like that. So I decided to get the practice for that. I would, on the side, start a YouTube channel, a cooking channel with, you know, the vegan cooking show. I would share. It was my way of promoting veganism, my way of activism to promote veganism and show people my vegan recipes in a fun, entertaining, exciting way. We just started. I talked to my buddy John, and he was down to be the host of the show. So basically, yeah, we wanted to take the main foods that people are like, I would be vegan, but I can't give up pizza, or I can't give up my cheesesteak, my pasta. So we said, all right, fine. We went and we veganized, you know, as many foods as we could right off the bat. Most of those foods were comfort foods. I do have, you know, healthier foods, and, you know, for a good year of my life, I was raw vegan. So I do have some raw vegan, really healthy recipes, but they're all over the board. And we usually get the most views on the most unhealthy recipes. Yes. So we'll do something crazy. Like, I just posted a video today camping and stuff, and I make like this killer s'more sandwich on the campfire. That doesn't necessarily reflect the way I eat. I just want to make, you know, as many videos as I can, really, just showing people you can be vegan, you can veganize just about anything.
And you said that you actually received so many testimonials and emails that people were telling, like, because of these videos on how to make vegan pizza or vegan mac and cheese, because of your videos, people actually became vegan. So that definitely helped. It provided a lot of value to people, right?
Yeah, like over the years, literally, without even exaggerating, thousands. So
Wow.
I've met so many people. I've got so many emails, so many comments saying that because of our show or because of something we inspired them to do, they went vegan. And that is one of the most satisfying things to keep this channel going. Like, you know, at some points I feel like, you know, what am I even doing? And then I hear things like that, gets me on that positive, you know, the positive energy again to keep going.
Yeah, definitely. Also, I seen that Gary Yourofsky's best speech ever updated version, it was you and John who recorded it in New York City, in Harlem, right?
Yeah, that was a few years ago, and I met Gary at we went to dinner with a bunch of people. We went to Shojin out in California, and he was telling us a bunch of stories, and he was saying he's got this new condensed speech, but he's got no one to film it. And I said, well, you know, we'll come down and film it for you. And he's like, okay, a lot of people, you know, say that, but they never do it. So, you know, we showed up, we filmed it, and we uploaded it. And that speech alone has inspired a lot of people to go vegan. I mean, it's a very concise speech, and I would recommend it.
Mm-hmm. Great. Yeah, and Gary, for those of you guys who don't know that, Gary Yourofsky, he's like a legend in vegan activists community. Chris, how do you feel that Gary has basically retired from these vegan activism movements? How do you feel about it?
I don't really know too much what to comment on that. I know there's a bunch of controversy surrounded him on some of the things that he said. I don't know. It can get frustrating arguing back and forth with different people on things. But what I can attest to is that the video that we filmed, everything he says in there is pretty much on point. And it's a great tool to have anybody watch to get them to think about going vegan.
Because of his videos, there so many people went vegan. He raised awareness for so many people, and that's wonderful. And but you promote veganism as well, and that's one of the biggest lessons for me personally, watching your show. Your videos were the reason so many people went vegan too. But your approach and what you were doing is so much different from what Gary Yourofsky was doing. You were never telling anyone what to do. You were never preaching, never judging. Right from the start of your YouTube channel, it was something that was just fun and entertaining that people can learn from, right?
You know, yeah, I've been vegan for a long time. And from the beginning, I had acquaintances and different people and different tactics and techniques that they would use to make people go vegan. And I just never liked the in-your-face approach. I know for me, I don't like being told what to do. And, you know, it just comes off, in my opinion, is not the right way to do things. So I know there's a time and a place for it and everything, but I wanted to make a show that was non-judgmental. It would make people, whether they were vegan, not vegan, whether they were looking to go vegan or transition, or maybe they only ate one of my recipes once or twice a week. I wanted it to be open to everybody. I wanted to be able to inspire and educate, have a fun channel. At the time, YouTube was a little bit different. There was you didn't make money on YouTube. I just really wanted to learn to make movies better. Also, there were no other vegan cooking shows. So I wanted to create something that didn't exist at the time. And that's what I did. I created a fun vegan cooking show that, you know, anybody could sit there and watch and then maybe think about it and say, wait a minute, you know, these are vegan recipes and they look pretty good. Maybe I want to try it. And then they say, oh, wow, that's actually really good. I could do this. And that's really, you know, some of the comments that I've heard from people of how they went vegan.
Yeah, and that's the message to those who want to promote veganism, but they don't want to be in a preacher role. So you don't have to. You can do it through entertainment too, right?
Right. Now, we also have several videos. We've gone to, you know, several different farm sanctuaries, and we've done benefits and stuff like that, fundraisers throughout the years, you know, just showing people why we do what we do.
Yeah, I've seen those videos. They're amazing. So some of them in Pennsylvania, some of them in New York. How many of those sanctuaries have you visited already?
I've been to, like the New Jersey one, Pennsylvania, New York, California, Animal Place out there. So yeah, I've been to a lot of them. Part of that, the running team I was talking about earlier, all the benefits and the proceeds from that, I think we raised a total of like $12,000, all went to our farm sanctuary, Tamerlane Farm Sanctuary. So it was all for the animals, and it's a great way to spread awareness because of all the other runners there. Like there was more of us than anyone. There was like 70 vegans all wearing the Vegan Power for the Animals shirts. It really makes an impact on it's like, we're talked about because our elite team is one of the best teams there. I think we got second place this time out of all the teams that compete. So it shows that vegan athletes, they're very prominent, and we don't lack any physical endurance or anything. We don't lack protein. That's like the biggest misconception out there.
Can you tell us briefly about your cookbook that you have?
So we started getting a lot of comments saying, we love your videos, but can you put it into a cookbook? Because when we're in the kitchen, we got to keep pausing and replaying the videos. We never made a cookbook. We didn't know what to do, but then we talked to somebody that said, hey, let's do a Kickstarter for your cookbook. And reluctantly, we put it up. I said, okay, so if this Kickstarter works, then we'll do a cookbook. And to my surprise, our Kickstarter got 3 times the amount we were looking for. So we made an even better cookbook than we were going to do. At the time, when we made it about 4 years ago, we have all the recipes that we had on our YouTube channel with a few extra ones. Mm-hmm. We have like a little comic at the beginning, like a little illustrated story that shows the condensed version of our the vegan zombie story. Mm-hmm. And we even have a couple dog treats in there. So we have the cookbook and the ebook, and I do plan on working on the second edition the second cookbook.
Wonderful. And can you share what's the best way people can connect with you, and also how people can support you about your Patreon account?
So yeah, we have a Patreon, and that like keeps us going. It helps us to keep doing what we're doing. And, anything can help. So if you go to Patreon, the Vegan Zombie, any donation will greatly be appreciated. We also have my cookbooks and my ebooks, which you can get at theveganzombie.com. Those help us out as well.
You also have your vegan t-shirts, right?
Yep, we have the vegan t-shirts.
And hoodies.
So yeah, that's another one. So yeah, I print all my own shirts myself. I've done it since day one, and that definitely helps keep us going as well.
Wonderful. And I want to finish this interview with the last piece of guidance from you, Chris, to those people who want to try veganism, who want to go vegan, but they're still afraid that they can harm their health, and they're still afraid that it will be too difficult for them. They won't be able to find anything to eat. So what would be the piece of guidance from you to them, Chris?
Okay, so first I would say going vegan was the single best decision I had ever done, not knowing it at the time. Yeah, I've been vegan for a long time. I don't have any health problems. If anything, I'm feeling great. I rarely get sick. And when I went vegetarian back in the day, I've never had a headache since. I just wanted to throw that in there because before that, I always used to get headaches. So I never had a headache since, and that's almost 3 decades. The great thing we have today is the internet, which we didn't have when I first did this. What I would suggest, the easiest thing for somebody that's interested in going vegan would be to make a list of all your favorite foods, and then go on the internet and then search vegan versions of those foods. You're going to come up with hundreds, if not thousands, of results. Let's say you put in vegan pizza. You're going to have all kinds of different variations of vegan pizza. You're going to have the most comfort food, unhealthy versions, all the way to the very healthiest versions that you can find. Just pick a couple of those. If you don't like one, try another one. You're going to find something that you're going to like. That would be my biggest piece of advice for somebody that wants to go vegan. If you think it's going to hurt your health, a proper plant-based diet, vegan diet, can be the best thing for you. I'm not saying it's a cure-all or anything like that, but think about it. You're not going to get healthy eating meat and dairy. So science is on our side there as well. So I would say, yeah, that's my biggest piece of advice.
Wonderful, Chris. Thank you so much for this interview. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
All right, my friends, that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining us today for today's episode. I hope you find value in this episode. If there was anything we mentioned and you missed it, don't worry about it. We take all the notes. Simply visit veganbreakthrough.com/1. to see the show notes page. And I want to finish this episode with my final words. Animals need our help. Let's make this world vegan. Bye, guys.